All right, y'all. Welcome back. Um, I said I was gonna do more of these, and I am. So sometimes for me, I have a lot of thoughts because I scroll a lot on Twitter. There are a lot of things that I'm gonna just use the word. I'm gonna say trigger, but not trigger me. But there's a lot of thoughts I have about things that are said on Twitter, and I usually have a philosophy of let's let that simmer for a couple days, and if it's important, will still be on the top of my mind, and I might talk about it. I think this year I'm gonna change that. When I see something, I'm gonna speak on it. Not everything, but there's some that draws my interest. I'm gonna speak on it. So I'm gonna be we talked about this on my family vacation 2025. I'm gonna be a little more free. So I'm probably gonna do more of. I like to go live because it's so easy, but if I'm in my office or have my laptop available, I'm gonna do more of these. Um, Usually when I do watching the styles, so I can show media because I think it's important for me to show you what I'm talking about. So what I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna show you what triggered me to do this live. All right, my man Tony Geiger. If y'all don't know Tony, his son played for us a couple years ago. He transferred to um to Tulane, had a real good season for them. But he got me this morning. So kudos to Mr. Geiger for this. These young men have opportunity to create generational wealth for their families, and y'all bashing them. Wonder how many of y'all turned down $1 million in your lifetime, let alone as a 20-year-old. There's no truer statement. And it comes back to why I labeled the show Brand versus Surname. And it's it's extremely that's a part of sports that causes the most friction out of anything else. I think that's why fans say such demeaning things towards athletes because there's a brand and there's a surname. The brand is the name across the chest. The surname is obviously you know what the surname is. Some teams don't. Alabama, Penn State. Does Penn State allow anymore now? I don't know. I know Alabama used to not allow names on the back of the jersey. I think they do now. But those two things are constantly in conflict. And I'm not sure what's the way to rectify it. I get, I'm a since Mr. Geiger used bash, I get bashed a lot because I am 90% on players and execution of their assignment on game day. I've probably become 95% since I've started coaching. And not because of me coaching, because I have seen the guys on my staff, not on my staff, on the staff that I work with, how diligent they are in preparation, and the players on the field don't execute it. So it kind of cements my perspective of what happens on Saturday. Are there situations where players are not prepared enough? Sure. But if you have the right staff that is diligent with their preparation, and stuff happens on Saturdays or Fridays for me, it's interesting the narrative that's used, because there's a whole bunch of things, and I've said it before. I'm gonna get back to Surname and brand. A whole lot of things that happen. Sometimes players can't digest certain things, and you can't run certain plays. So you hear fans in the stands, and why do we do that? Because in high school, it's even more, because your son doesn't dedicate himself to his craft or to the playbook, and we can't run those plays because one of y'all sons cannot execute that exact play that you're asking for. So let's go back to the Surname and the brand. So as fans, your worry is 99% of the time strictly about Kentucky. And when someone does Kentucky wrong, you throw your hands up. And I have no problem with that, because that is the school that you support. I support Kentucky 100%. Now, as a fan, you require, or I don't know if require, you expect the individual that's wearing the across the, let's say Kentucky, because it could be Kentucky across the chest, to feel the same thing that you feel about the Kentucky across the chest. You might be asking for a little too much. And the reason why I say that is because you don't respect the surname on the back of the jersey as much as you the name on the front. So you expect an athlete to not respect the name on the back of the jersey more than the name on the front. You're asking a lot. Conversely, players are the same thing. That name on the back of the jersey is why I'm here, to be able to wear the name on the front of the jersey. As a player, you carry a lot of people with you to this destination. There's a lot of people who sacrifice for, now I'm talking as a player, for you to be able to wear the name on the front of the jersey. That means, especially now, off-season coaching, apparel, shoes, training, time, 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 picking your butt up, dropping your butt off, going to games, paying for admission of games, which is something that I was not very aware of as a player. You got to pay for these games as a parent, as an uncle, as a cousin. Paying for the game, traveling to the game, meals for the game, meals before the game. Like there's a thing that's missing out of the support staff that support these players. So as a player, you're not forgetting the people. They are more important than this. So now you have to understand why, as a player, fans are on your ass for not representing this. Because they are all about this. And you're all about that. So there's a conflict. There's a conflict because me as a player, and look, and now as an old ass man who's been on both sides of the fence, I can see both. As a guy who really, I really enjoy getting to understand fans' perspective on the game. And I'm learning more and more each day. I'm in a couple group chats, and I'm learning a lot. When I was with the Bears, I listened to sports radio all the time because I wanted to get the perspective of the fans and the radio personalities. Can it go too far? Sure. But you have to understand as a player that they care more about this than anything else. And that is the toughest thing about a player, is because a lot of times you want fans to understand you, and honestly, they don't give a damn about you. Just be honest. They don't care about where you came from. They don't care about what has happened in your life. They don't care why you were doing certain things. They don't care what happened Monday through Friday. They want to see you perform on Saturdays to the expectations that they have of you. Period. And for me, I would rather have expectations than not. Because if I don't have expectation, that means I'm either not playing, I'm not good enough, or we don't have good fans. So for me, maybe I was, my perspective is different, but what's the old saying? What is it? Heavy as the head that wears the crown. For some reason, I understood the the responsibility without losing the surname. Because if you really think about it, if you really think about it, performing for the surname also helps the brand. Because if if I want to show my supporters the importance of them by the way I play on Saturdays, which means Monday through Friday, I'm going to prepare. I'm going to do all the things to not disrespect my surname. So if you do that, that means going to class. That means not getting in trouble. That means not having any any what's record from the local PD. That means not having someone outside of the facility that negative things about your name. Because the thing about it is, this is the weird thing about the surname, is when something happens, they just don't call you by Van. They call you by the whole name or just the last name. That House kid is a handful. They don't say that Van kid. They say that House kid or Van House is a handful. That House kid is disrespectful. That House kid is missing practice, missing just so I understood that to the utmost. So for fans, I want y'all to understand is sometimes your expectations on Saturday is warranted because you only see Saturday, but you don't see Monday through Friday. I've had people die while I was at Kentucky. I've had things happen to family members. I've had my own personal issues during the season, be it uh, class, being girlfriend, being um, peers at class. There are so many things that affect a young man Monday through Friday that for some it's hard to compartmentalize that and push that to the side to perform to their utmost on Saturday. That's why I personally believe all these hit pieces that we do on draft night and how we do things intermittently with certain players because their story is bigger than others. It sucks that it has to happen that JJ Weaver's dad dies to be able to highlight that relationship. Why does it have to be a tragedy for people to understand these kids' lives and what they're going through? But sometimes it would be great for these kids to go on social media to show their personality, show y'all their life. But then I see stuff about fans saying, get your ass off of social media and go practice. Because fans don't care nothing about the name on the back. They care all about the name on the front. It's more than that, than it's not. It is a conflict of interest, so to speak, because in order for that player to play, he or she, because not just guys, so I am talking about football, but for that individual to play to the utmost, they also need to feel supported by all. If you don't think as a fan that the negative things that I can imagine playing in this Twitter age, the negative things that you say on social media has zero effect on the player, you are you are you really don't understand your impact. You really don't. All these guys are relatively young, although this new JUCO rule is going to put these as grown as men. I get it. And I understand the narrative where they're getting paid. But I still want you to understand that they're still, some of these kids are still 18 and 19. So what that is, the frontal lobe, cortex, whatever, hasn't even been fully developed yet. So even though it affects your brand as a fan, I just had this conversation with my sister who played basketball at Arkansas State. Just had this conversation with my sister about would she have left Arkansas State? Her dream school was Tennessee, which is obvious. They were the best. They were the excuse me. They were cream of the crop doing that when she was young. I asked her would she have left Tennessee? She's not a starter. She's a bench player. She may be the eighth man on the off the bench, but she was a scorer in high school. She scored 20-ish points in high school. Would she have left Pat Summit for another school that was going to pay her way more money? Think about that. If Kentucky is paying you, I'm a starter. Let's say I'm the starting quarterback. If Kentucky's paying me 200,000, but Kansas State is going to pay me 2 million, do you really think I'm going to worry more about the name on the front than the name on the back? You know how many people I can help in my family, my mom, dad, possibly siblings, with $2 million a year as a college student? Do you really believe that I am going to worry more about this name on the front than the name on the back to the people who have supported, paid shit ton of money to support me, gave up a portion of their life to devote to me, do you really believe that they will not take that money? It will stay at Kentucky because Kentucky did. Why would you leave Kentucky? Come on. I'm leaving Kentucky at a heartbeat. The same way y'all would leave your job for another job that's paying $5,000 to $10,000 more in a heartbeat. How can you expect a young man to turn down that kind of money because of your brand? It ain't gonna happen. I don't care if he's coached by Jesus Christ himself. He's leaving. That's just the current state of college sports. How can you say how can you as a young man, if I was 18 years old and I had a great sophomore year, I'm gonna go back to me. 18 years old, I played 1994 as an 18-year-old, right? Yeah, the whole season. I turned 18. No, yes, I turned 18 my freshman. I was 18-year-old, played the whole season as an 18-year-old. After my sophomore year, when I led the team in interception, had 3 picks that season. And I love Coach Archer, I love Coach Smith, I love Coach Curry to death. If I had that opportunity to leave and they were paying me 50,000 and someone else gonna pay me 500 because of that great season, because what they saw potentially in the next, I'm gone, y'all. I'm gone. I was fortunate enough where my parents probably wouldn't ask for money. So just imagine this. This is gross, not net. Let's say I play 3 more years, and let's say I don't get better and I stay at 500. After I graduate with no student loan, I have $1.5 million in my bank account. I know it's gonna be less taxes, but I don't know what taxes would be. Blah, blah, blah. Let's say a million. I'm gonna leave college with $1 million in my bank account with the chance of going to the NFL. Let's say I don't even have a chance to go to the NFL. I leave college with $1 million in my account. Or I stay at Kentucky, I was making 100, and I leave with 225,000. I'm gone, y'all. Jay, I hear you, but I can understand though. Jay Hayes says you're gonna make them Kentucky folks mad. They swear they play for the name on the front. Look, y'all, I'm sorry. I can't speak for people who are from Kentucky, but I did not play for the name on the front. I'm just gonna be honest with you. Because first of all, I would never went. Only reason I came to Kentucky was because of Mike Archer. Zero. That's the only reason. If not for Mike Archer leaving Virginia to become the DC at Kentucky, you would not have ever known my name. I came to Kentucky for a coach, not because of Kentucky. Because honestly, to be honest with y'all, that is on the locker Wednesdays, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Me and Anthony White. I told Anthony White I knew zero about Kentucky prior to me coming to Kentucky. Wasn't a basketball head, so I mean, honestly, I didn't know the history of the basketball. I mean, I knew about Kentucky basketball, but nothing like that. The only reason I came to Lexington was because Coach Curry hired Coach Archer, BSDC. Period. Had nothing to do with, ooh, I want to go to the horse capital of the United States. Ooh, I want it. No. And quite honestly, for me, if Southern Mississippi would have had a mechanical engineering program, I wouldn't even have gotten to the point of going to Kentucky because I would have committed on my first visit. So even that. And now we just spitfire. And I'm glad that things happen as my moniker and my wife and kids said things happen for a reason. I'm glad I didn't go to Southern Miss because I was really going to Southern Miss for the DB coach Withers. And Withers, the funny thing about it, left Southern Miss the first year. So I only would have been coach for him for 1 year. So the same way Harley Gilmore, which I hate, this is the stuff I hate about social media. One of the things I hate about social media is Harley Gilmore is leaving. And now all of a sudden, all this stuff comes out, blah, blah, blah. He was a cancer, culture, vulture, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. I'm not in Lexington. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. Why wasn't this shit said when he was there? I'm pretty positive with saying he left because he formed a good relationship with Mikhail Shorts. If Shorts is still here, I think Harley Gilmore is still here. I think if Shorts is not in Nebraska, I don't think Dane Key is at Nebraska. That's the other thing, fans, you understand. These sports is all about relationships and people whom I can trust. And head coaches matter, but don't matter. Offensive coordinators matter, but don't matter as much. Because the two people you spend the most time with as a college football player, because that's all I know. I'm not going to say athlete. As a college football player, is your strength and conditioning coach and your position coach. That's simple. You have a group meeting, offense or defense, for maybe a few minutes, and then the rest of the meeting time is with your defensive back coach. If you have meetings after practice, it's all with your defensive back coach. It's all with your position coach. When you're at practice, you get coached by your position coach. 90% of your time is spent with your position coach. So if you form a awesome relationship with him, you're probably going to leave with him. Not about the break. Jay Hayes said people work for 25, 30 years and still don't have a million net savings for 401k. Get that bad. That's the name of the game for sure. And Jay, here's the thing. Here's the most important thing. And not all these kids are going to do this, but the majority of them do. I don't think people understand that the majority of kids do not get to go to the NFL. The majority of them will finish their degree. You finish your degree with some money in the bank. It's crazy. I try to always avoid criticizing players. Stephen C. said, I try to always avoid criticizing players because we don't know what's going on. Exactly. Try to understand when it does hit the paper. I too have been racing on the BG doing over 120, just didn't get caught. It is. I'm gonna say this, and I tell guys that I've been coaching the last few years. College football is hard. It's lonely, especially when you're not an in-state player and you are out of state and you're far away from home. Now, I guess nowadays, I'm gonna say I don't know nowadays. When I played, it was hard because we didn't have social media and ability to FaceTime. I talk to my mom every day, but that's just the voice. You don't get to see them, and it can be lonely. I don't care how good you are. And there are, again, like I said earlier, there are things that occur pre arrival, I guess, to your brand, and during your arrival that that has a bearing on how kids act and react to things on their first time being away from home alone in their life. It's more difficult than you can ever imagine. It's like, just imagine you've been a regular student moving away from home. Add that on to you, some jackass coaches being on your ass all the time. Imagine the guy who just came into your living room heaping unbelievable praise on you, and then all of a sudden the first day you get on the campus, they're cursing your ass out. There are adjustments that some guys never really adjust to, and some it takes 3 years to. College sports are difficult. And just because, as Jay Hay says, I'm going to offend some people, and as I said, 2025 is going to be that year. Just because you were not good enough to play college sports does not mean the guy that's on a team that you want to be on a team sucks because he doesn't meet your expectations. That's a thing that I want to get out of college sports is that player sucks. He's playing on the highest level in the best conference, but he sucks. Did he meet your expectations? Probably not. Did he meet his own expectations? Probably not. He is one of, what is it? He's a 5% high school athletes each year. He doesn't suck. Maybe the situation he's in, maybe the brand across his chest doesn't fit the name on the back. Maybe he needs to find another brand that's more fitting for the name on the back. But when that happens, these people get mad because he's following that. Well, that's all I got. There's two mottos I go by. That's a lot, but two ones that just came to my mind. I guess God spoke to me just now. There's everything an argument right now that SEC is the best country. um, Comparison is the thief of joy. That's a big one for me. And the other one is what, man, my mind is swimming. Can't remember now. I think I just had it and I left. A comparison is a thief of joy. Just remember that. Comparison is the thief of joy. All right, y'all. I'm out. I'm going to try and stick to this as long as I can. But people keep tweeting like they tweeting. I'm gonna find something interesting and I'm gonna come on and we're gonna talk about it.